Hello everyone, I am back with another video. Stay away from narcs. The purpose of this channel is to teach people about narcissistic abuse, especially on my own experience of having an ex-narcissistic mother-in-law, but any and all topics that regard narcissism and narcissistic abuse, and having a community of support here in the comments, and knowing and understanding that we're not alone and that we can get information, knowledge, and educate ourselves in order to start healing from this type of abuse. Because there's so many people out there that make us want to feel that it's our fault, that we're the crazy ones, and we're here to tell you by personal experience that that's not the case. So, again, disclaimer, if you feel triggered at all, please take a step back from any of these videos. And I really appreciate every single one of you. Practice your grounding, practice being compassionate and caring to your mind, body, and spirit. I know it's hard, especially those of us that have been in narcissistic relationships or raised by narcissists for years at a time, or, been in any type of bout with a narcissist in general. But please take care of yourself, because we cannot pour from empty cups. And as the saying goes, if you have any specific topics, you can please put them in the comments, and I will try to get to them, as well as the donation links I have in the description. If this channel, you find support from it, they're there. Also the like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know if you have any questions as well. Okay, so for today's topic, I'm going to get right into that. So today's topic is regarding feeling numb from narcissistic relationships and feeling numb from being abused by a narcissist. Okay? And if you have this occurred, or if you're currently going through this, this may be a part 1 and 2 video, because I can go really in depth with this topic because it personally occurred to me. So I'm going to give my own background of the occurrence, and I'm going to give some explanation and examples of possibly why this occurs and what I personally did to help myself become unnumb. And it's not going to be the case for every single person that it's going to help everyone out there that has gone through this sort of numbness from narcissistic abuse. It helped in my personal case, so please take it with an understanding that it's not going to be in the benefit of everybody else, but there may be some similarities there. There may be some things that you can find that may help you if you're experiencing feeling numb from narcissistic abuse. It's feeling numb and feeling like as if you had lost your identity. Those two sort of intertwine a bit. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Okay, so feeling numb from narcissistic abuse. Okay, so especially, this is how I'm gonna start off, you guys. Especially if you are somebody that has, human beings in general have been designed to be feelers. Okay, we're designed to feel. We are not just designed to go about the world logically or in our thinking, right? And we are designed both for logic and feeling. We have emotions. We are made up of emotions. We're made up of anger. We can get angry. We can get sad. We can get joyful. Human beings are supposed to experience emotions, and they're supposed to feel. Now, some of us, specifically empaths, we feel more than others, right? But in general, human beings are feeling beings. Now, when we get in a relationship with a narcissist, or we have a narcissist around us that is abusing us, okay, what happens and how we start to become numb and how we start to lose feeling in the relationship. If you've ever gone through this or currently going through this, go ahead and leave your comment in the comment section. Because what we are going through is traumatic. The abuse that we are going through via the narcissist is trauma. And there are 4 types of trauma responses that I'm going to tell you about if you haven't heard of them. They're the fight response, the flight response, the freeze response, which deals with the numbness we feel, and then the fawn response. Okay? When we're in trauma, when we're in the traumatic environment, when we're walking on eggshells, when we have to be hyper vigilant around us we can't do this or we have to do this in order to please the narcissist. If there's anything that we do or we say, we might upset the narcissist. The narcissist constantly psychologically, verbally, emotionally abusing us, even times physically and sexually abusing us, right? Those are all traumatic. And how you as a human being respond to trauma, we all respond to trauma in different ways, but there is all similarities between us since we're human, that the brain will respond to the trauma. Okay? Some of us may have a fight response. Some of us may be more aggressive. Okay? But as you have heard in my last video when I talked about us being reactive and angry to the narcissist will probably come out and attack us even more, manipulate and gas us even more if we try to fight our way out. Our senses, our fight sense is diminished so much by being in a narcissistic relationship for so many, because the narcissist manipulates us out of fighting for ourselves. So when we don't have a fight response, we might go into our flight response, right? And this is different from everybody. Okay, this is different from everybody. But say we'll go on the flight response. Maybe some of us will become workaholics or constantly want to be at the office or constantly doing something that keeps us occupied and away from the narcissist, or being hyper vigilant, being so aware of our surroundings that anybody around us we think is the narcissist, or we think that it's going to have some type of cost. Okay, that's the flight, right? The numbness, as I told you before, the numbness comes from the freeze response. And what the freeze response is the brain's mechanism to suppress and repress emotions and to dissociate out of the environment. So for example, if you're constantly in an environment with a narcissist where you're being abused and the narcissist is emotionally abusing you and throwing things at you and berating you, maybe even physically, sexually assaulting you, whatever type of abuse and trauma that you're going through via the narcissist, the brain's defense is to block that out. Okay, when you can't run away from it and you can't fight out of it, the next in line of defense is to freeze yourself out of the pain. Okay? And a story to tell you specifically, this occurred to my ex-fiance so much that he automatically, every time that was some type of pain that he sensed was coming up for him, whether it was the hands out of the narcissist or not, he automatically started to dissociate. Okay? He went into this zone where you would try to wave your hand in front of him and he would be like, huh? What? It's because his brain was automatically taking him out of the environment in which he felt pain. Okay? That is the first sign of you starting to become numb. You're not aware of your surroundings. You're zoned out. You have this zoned out feeling. You have this feeling of being like you're in a fog, right? Because your brain is in trauma mode to freeze all types of pain and all types of emotions that you do not want to be feeling out. Okay? And it's very, very, very uncomfortable, especially if you are somebody that you came into the relationship and you were a happy, joyful person. You were constantly any type of music that you listened to, you were joyful, or you were creative. You would, love to do art. You'd love to, anything that requires feeling and emotion, and you would soak it up, especially again, if you're an empath and you love having those sensations of just being joyful and just experiencing your emotions in general. Because when you're in a narcissistic abusive situation, your brain tries to protect you. It tries to freeze out anything that starts to feel uncomfortable. Over time, okay, specifically with me, over time, I noticed I couldn't fight my way out. I lost my voice and I couldn't flee my way out of the situation. So every time that my narcissistic mother-in-law would start to get brought up, or I would have a conversation with her in which she would be emotionally and verbally abusive to me, the second I got off the phone, for example, I felt frozen. I felt numb because I did not want to feel. And there may even be moments where you guys want to suppress and push down the emotions so much and you don't want to feel them so much because you think that there's no way out of it. So the only thing you do is push down your feelings and your brain tries to freeze your sensations even more. You might even resort to abusing substances, abusing alcohol, because you don't want to feel. It is your innate response to being abused when you can't get out and you can't fight your way out to want to suppress your emotions. And your brain does some of that for you with numbing you from those emotions, but also you and yourself, you might want to let me take a sip of this alcohol. Let me take a pain reliever. You don't want to feel pain, so you find some sort of way. You might find shopping as a distraction. And these are ways people become addicted to certain things. It's not always substances. People can become addicted, like I said, to shopping, to food. My ex, every time I would notice that he was on edge, right away he wanted to eat something. And he would eat and he wouldn't even be mindful of how fast he was eating. He would just gulp down because he wanted to feel something else other than the pain. He would find ways as a survival mechanism to stop the pain that he was feeling because it was too much. And at the end of the day, when you continuously do this and you're not mindful and you don't take a step to look at yourself and look at what's happening, you do it on a daily basis and you don't even understand, you don't even see yourself doing it. People are looking at you on the outside that possibly have no clue of what's going on, and they're like, what's wrong with this person? Why are they like this? Or why are they an addict? Or why? And at the end of the day, the scariest thing about this is that if this goes on so long, we can't feel. We lose our feeling because we suppress our emotions so much, and because our brain has been trained to fight that trauma with freezing our sensation and freezing our feeling. I remember the day, I still have a picture of myself when it was around Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve is always really a joyful time for my family and I. I love being around my family around that season, and I remember that I was going through I had been through 8 to 10 months of narcissistic abuse. And my brain had got to the point where it started numbing out the trauma, numbing out the abuse and painful experiences I was feeling. And that day, it was very a blur. I couldn't feel. I was not joyful at all. I was so numb. I was so, what people would say is depressed. A lot of people think depression is somebody sitting down and crying all day, or no. I was sitting there and I was trying to smile at the people around me, but I felt no emotion. I didn't feel joy. I felt numb. Even if you smile, or even if it looks like you're okay. And the thing is, a lot of people didn't even notice. I didn't myself even really notice until I came out of that. And I just felt so numb. I have never felt the numbness that I felt until I was abused by a narcissist. Okay? My ex-narcissistic mother-in-law and her son, every time that I would get off the phone around, them, my brain reacted to numb everything out. And the things that used to be, and this is where it ties into identity loss, because the things that used to be so joyful to us and gave us so much joy and gave us so much energy and to be hype and to be we didn't feel any of that anymore. I would notice that, even exercise and working out, which I did to keep myself, with endorphins and joyful, that didn't help. I felt so suppressed. The music that I used to listen to keep me in a good, happy mood, that didn't work. Because when you become that numb, it sort of like becomes like a sickness that you have to work just as harder to get yourself out of, right? But thankfully there is a way to get out of it, you guys, okay? For me personally, and here I'm going to go into a little bit about how I got out of that numbness, okay? It was a really dark place. A lot of people, when they mention dark and numb, that's what I was feeling. That's what it felt. Because I couldn't feel, period. It really took me, and it doesn't happen overnight when you're going to recover from this, again, because you've been abused for so long that it's going to take time for you. So don't shame yourself if you're not seeing results of you getting back to who you are. But at the end of the day, you are going to get back. But if it's one thing for certain, you have to distance yourself as much as you possibly can from narcissistic abuse. That is the key factor. Distancing yourself, but also making sure that you have a support system that is there, that is going to help you, that even if they don't understand narcissistic abuse, that they're going to help you to, take you, maybe, support you on your therapy appointments, or help you make an appointment when you don't even feel like doing that, right? Or spending time with you. Do not isolate yourself in these moments, you guys. Make sure that you have a support system around you, even if it's one other person that can help you as much as possible. But if please don't isolate yourself, because that's another thing narcissists want to do, is they want to try to isolate us. Don't. Go to your family members that you can trust. Go to friends that you can trust. If you don't have that, again, go to a domestic violence shelter. Find somebody. There's somebody out there. There's a community health center that, even if you don't have insurance, that your life is at risk here. Your life and your whole feeling and sensation of being a human is at risk. So please ensure, to get that supported, you need a support system, and you need to feel safe and stabilized. That's the main thing. When you go to a trauma-informed therapist, one of the main things that they're going to focus on first is safety and stabilization. Because if you don't feel safe, you're going to continue in your being triggered, and you're going to continue having those reactions and becoming numb. Okay, so you have to feel safe. If your brain feels safe and you as a person feel safe, you're gonna be able to diminish that feeling of numbness a lot more easily, right? Stabilization, you might have to be on an anxiety or depression medication for a small portion of time. Again, I don't recommend medication for long periods of time. I think it's just to stabilize you just enough until you start feeling again, and until you start being who you were pre-narcissistic abuse again. Because that's what I did. I had to go into therapy. I had one or two people that were able to support me, and I took anxiety medication until I was able to stabilize myself, and I got away from the narcissist. Get away from the narcissist. Because the more you're around them, the more you're going to get triggered. You're just going to keep getting yourself in a pattern of triggering. And I know it's not easy for every single person. But again, it's your life on the line. It may be even the life of your children on the line. Go to a community health center, or go to a domestic violence community that is versed in this and that can help you in those circumstances. If you really feel afraid for your own safety, please do that. And then little by little, once you start to feel safer, once you start to feel more stabilized, once you're away from that narcissist, do the things that you would used to do before narcissistic abuse. Even if you don't know them, do those things that bring you joy. Do those things that you wish you could constantly do, but you can't do them around the narcissist, because the narcissist always wanted to take that from you. Go out, travel, experience the world. Do whatever it is that you feel within you that you have to do. Because your intuition is going to speak to you as well. And your body and your mind are going to tell you what it needs. Pay heed to that and be mindful. Get into therapy if you can. I highly recommend being with a trauma-informed therapist. Or somebody, at least a trauma-informed therapist, or somebody that knows narcissistic abuse and or emotional abuse. For sure. Because that's just going to get you one step further to your healing. And there's gonna be a lot of grief. But guess what? When it comes to feeling your emotions again, it's just that you have to feel. You cannot keep suppressing yourself. Once you're safe and stabilized enough, let yourself grieve. You have to let yourself grieve it out. And I recommend you grieve it out with a professional, mental health professional, or somebody that really is there to support you, that you do not feel shamed or judged by, because there has to be some form of grief to get past all the emotions that you've been suppressing. Because the more you suppress them down, the more you're going to have that feeling of numbness again. So you have to feel, and don't do it all at once. You don't need to do it all at once, but little by little. Try to give yourself grieving time, and little by little, as you start to grieve, as you start to complete the things you enjoy, as you start to distance yourself away from narcissistic abuse and have a support system and don't feel as isolated, you will start to feel again. You will start to feel again. If you made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. Again, I will be back for more videos. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Topics that you want to hear, put them in the comments below. Thank you again. Please take care of yourselves in mind, body, and spirit. Peace.